Welcome everyone to Almost Cancelled. I am Pierre, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6. It is called 2 of 1. So full spoilers for the episode as always. We ended last episode with the cliffhanger of them getting into this. It felt like a heist. It's not really a heist, but it felt kind of like a heist because they're going into this fancy ball where Renee Picard is there and they want to keep an eye on her. And we ended with Jeri sort of sneaking into the... Well, she's intentionally getting apprehended by the security team, so she's in the security room. And the reveal that the Borg Queen is in her head and is still around in some fashion. So... that's where we start off this week, but we start off with an old TV trope of the here's something dangerous or something in peril that's happening later. Picard's injured, he needs medical attention, and it's like 36 minutes earlier, and then we see how the night played out. So, what'd you think of this episode, Tara?
Well, I don't know why he does that. I don't know why he has to do the 36 minutes earlier stuff, just because I mean they sort of did that in the pilot, or not pilot, but the premiere episode for season 2 also, where they ended with oh, look at this big actiony horror thing that's gonna happen, you know, stay tuned. I thought the episode was like exciting enough without that. I don't know, I just don't know what the point of it was.
I think the key is that they maybe felt that it wasn't exciting enough, and that's why they kept, because they do it multiple times. They effectively, even though
they remind you, oh, by the way, Picard's gonna get hurt.
Yeah, even though most of us are watching it via streaming server, and I think Canada watches it on like broadcast TV with ads, but even though we're all watching it in one chunk, it still sort of played like it had ad breaks, where every time it came back from an ad break, it went back to like Picard in a hospital bed or lying in the ground, and now it's 24 minutes earlier, and now it's 12 minutes earlier.
I definitely have ad breaks because I went to the cheaper Paramount Plus when there wasn't any new Trek, and for the life of me, I can't upgrade my account. Every time I go to it to do it, there's an error, and I'm so tired of commercials. Like, I've moved beyond commercials now. I can't do them, so yeah. I'm too privileged for that. But it won't let me upgrade my account, so I have to, like, I don't know. I only ever remember when I watched Picard, and then I'm too into the episode to actually go to my computer to see if I can do it on a desktop or something. But in any case, I have the ad breaks, and you're right, it does play out like that. I don't know if it's necessary. Like, maybe they felt it wasn't actiony enough, but like, that's okay. Not every episode has to be actiony. I actually like the episode. I honestly like all the stuff with Jeri is great. I think the Jeri and Borg Queen storyline is fantastic. I really like the Picard speech that we get in this for like motivation. I thought it was very classic Picard and very nice, and I wouldn't mind having a clip of it myself.
Here's the weird thing. There's a couple of weird things about Picard's plot in this episode. I kind of agree that them doing this countdown where we keep seeing he's going to get injured somehow. Maybe because we really see his head, so we don't know if he's been shot. We don't know, and it turns out he's hit by a car, but we don't know what the actual thing is. Is that teasing it like 3 or 4 times throughout the episode with these like flashes of like him injured and then cutting back and saying 12 minutes earlier and stuff like that. It bizarrely like it sets up too much of a mystery and expectation. So when the actual thing happens and it's just what it is, it actually felt kind of anticlimactic. I'm like, well, that's what you've been building to. Like, it would have been better if you just hadn't teased this and it just happened. The other problem that I kind of had is that, okay, then he's like passed out and it sets up stuff for the next episode where he's like effectively in a coma. They take him to Rios's like fancy doctor lady who he's clearly thinking about, which I thought was a neat device. It's like, okay, we can't go to a regular hospital. Oh, Rios knows someone who could help. So they go there and they set up this that just like felt very random to me. This whole idea that he should be waking up, but there's like some sort of like memory or dream that's keeping him like down under, and then it's like, oh, we have to do some sort of like makeshift technology based mind meld to like go in and try and like pull him out from whatever memories keeping him asleep. And all of this just felt like this just feels like a bunch of excuses to have some sort of plot next episode where you're going in and try to talk to him during this memory, rather than because any of it feels like it's been set up or makes sense or is justified.
Irish Human is going to go in there and like see how he really feels about Irish Romulan.
Yes, and probably see him as a kid with his mother, since there's a lot of the mum stuff.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get some
up.
other stuff coming up. I mean, there's a bit of a tease for that in this episode too.
And maybe this is the episode where where it's important, where we're going to really get to see how that memory affected him and like really explore it, and that's fine. But I just feel like all these excuses to have this plot where they're going into his head so that someone else can witness him like work through this stuff just felt all very sudden and contrived, because like this does not fit into anything we've been doing at all season. Like everything else, because the Rios like doctor thing's like, okay, he's got feelings for the doctor. Raffi says, hey, let's not mess with time and fall in love with someone in the past. That's a stupid idea. But so when Picard gets injured and like, well, we can't take him to a hospital, the sick bay in the ship's not good enough right now, and it's like, I don't know where we can take him. That was good setup and payoff, because it reminded us that the doctor lady existed, and then it became important later on, and it was like, okay, that's something you set up.
And she was on Rios's mind because he's been in a good mood since he's, gotten to know her.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. In hindsight, you look at that scene and go, obviously they were setting up there was a chemistry and some romantic potential there anyway, but I think in hindsight you look at that scene and go, no, the main purpose of that scene is to remind us of her existence, because then when you get to the scene later on when Picard's hit by the car, it's like, oh, like now it's like that was them strategically reminding us in plot that she exists, so it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere later on.
You said that him getting hit by the car was anticlimactic. I don't know why. I was expecting, because Q has recruited soon to take care of Renee Picard, but also like watch out for Jean-Luc Picard, and his like big plan is just to run over her with a car. Like, I thought it was very odd. Like, I mean, it's a very modern day thing to do. Yeah. But I guess I just was assuming, Q would have something a bit more exciting. Well, I thought just he went running over a 96-year-old man.
Well,
with a Tesla.
I thought he went too soon because he wanted him to use his skills as a geneticist to do something. Instead, he just hired him to be an assassin, because he's not trying to hit Picard. Well, he's not trying. He's
trying to hit Renee Picard.
Yes, he's trying to hit Renee Picard, and Picard pushes her out of the way, and that's fine. But like, you could have asked anyone to do this. This could be anyone that you have do this.
Especially because Soon's warning to Jean-Luc Picard was kind of ominous. Like, I have power here and I'll be able to do something. I didn't think it would like run you over with my Tesla.
The only thing, that separates him other than his skills is that apparently because of his stature in society, he has like he can come to this party and he can be involved. Although everything that his daughter finds in the computer about him being labelled a mad scientist kind of flies in the face of that. Like, surely he isn't that respected then if people think he's some mad science dude.
Well, maybe. Like, we have a lot of disdain for people who develop pharmaceutical, like companies that develop drugs that are highly addictive and, make a lot of money off of it. Obviously, they're life-saving things, but also, they're taking advantage of people who are sick. Like, there could be, a bit of a, we hate them, but take our money kind of a situation.
I am very mixed in this episode, partly because I do think Soon's plot and his daughter's plot, like, I don't like it this week. Her like realization that she's just the next in the line of either clones or potentially artificial people was really uninspired, because it was like,
you know what I actually really like about it, though, is that maybe this explains why every Soon looks the same. Maybe they're all clones. Maybe this cloning thing has just been going on since, this century. Well,
that makes sense for him, but what about, I mean, her?
Well, yeah, for her, it could just be like, well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly. Like, if this Soon is like the same as all the Soons that we see throughout Star Trek, because they're just a clone of themselves, then maybe they would just have like, this is what my daughter looks like. This is how I'm going to design her every time.
Sure.
And why even like Data, when he creates a daughter, Lol, he sort of inadvertently makes her look like that in a way.
Okay. I wasn't really enjoying her like discovery and looking up on the computer and seeing his diaries of him talking about all of his failed experiments, where he's went through a lot of daughters who have all died at various stages of life in their youth. And this
I was
current
surprised
one,
that this was a reveal for her, because like she's locked up inside. She's not going to be on the internet the whole time.
Yeah, it felt very contrived that she's never like. I get this. I get why he might have a lot of this stuff behind some sort of password or whatever, which I don't think he actually did. Thinking about it, but let's just assume that he does.
Yeah,
it is kind of weird that she's never just seen what the public's opinion of her father's work is, or that she's never just Googled him.
Yeah.
That felt very far-fetched and contrived to me.
I suppose. I mean, maybe she is a lot younger than we think. Like maybe this is the first time she's really used the computer in this way before,
Sure.
because she hasn't really been around that long.
Yeah, she's not actually grown up since like a baby. She's grown up. She came out already.
Like she has memories of being young, but she's not actually. Yeah, maybe she's only like a few months old or something. This is the first time. We don't really know.
Yeah, maybe she was born as a 16-year-old, if that makes sense, and then she's only 2 years old technically or something.
So yeah, so anyway, like I agree. Like that plot hasn't been my favorite, but I did kind of like the idea of maybe this is a retcon to why Brent Spiner always plays the Soon character.
Yeah, okay, so retcon to explain something that they've been doing for a long time, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think it's just partially because I don't like most of that stuff, and then also because of like what Soon's plan, or what Q's plan is to have Soon help him, just all feels really mundane and simplistic in a way that doesn't really fit. Again, you could go to anyone with a car and say, I'm going to blackmail you, because he's Q, you can blackmail him with just about anything. But for some reason he's went to Brent Spiner because we'll recognize him and it'll be important for us to see him. But instead they're just setting up this thing that, I mean, not that Soon was necessarily like the Soons in the future were always portrayed as great people, and we're proud because he's like Data's father, but it does kind of feel like, you're turning this one into a complete prick. Like now he's just unlikable.
Well, he's not the first one. Like when you watch Enterprise, you'll meet a different Soon.
I'm not surprised, but yeah. So it just like all of this stuff combined just makes that entire that branch of the episode just feel kind of wonky.
It might be able to do something with it still, just because like we have seen like there is a future where we see like a statue, like a digital statue of Soon, and he's like talking. So like Q still might be manipulating him specifically because he needs him for something for this future to happen. But I'm still confused what Q's motivations are, because I don't know like why he would want to stop this flight from happening. Like he seems to blame Picard for the future that he sends him to, but I don't know. So we
talked about this last time. This is the mystery of the season.
It's the mystery, and I'm still working through it, and it's fine. I don't have all the information yet. I get it.
Jeri and the Borg Queen, I don't think I like it as much as you do. I'm a little confused as to why she has super strength if she lets the Borg Queen take over. That doesn't make it. Is she still physically her? I don't understand why she can still suddenly just snap out of handcuffs.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like
the writers
she's part of the she's part of the Matrix or something. Like having the Borg Queen is the same as like taking the red pill, and there's like all this unlocked potential, and you can just be the person you want to be.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, maybe not, but that's what it seems to be telling us.
When the Borg Queen was saying to her, let me take over and I can help you, what I thought was going to happen is that she would be able to wirelessly jack into the system and just do it from sitting there, but it would all be computer stuff. It would all be stuff that she can connect into because she's the Borg Queen. But instead,
she has some sort of EMP thing that she releases from her body.
But instead, she just lifts up her arms and breaks the handcuffs as if all of a sudden Jeri has super strength, and that doesn't really make any sense to me.
Well, she might have some sort of Borg nanites in her, right? Because she got scratched by the Borg Queen.
Is this something Is this something you're purely speculating, or are you basing this on something that you've seen before? That there's the actual Borg nanites that will affect people?
Yeah, I think that's in First Contact.
It's been a long
virus
time.
that acts as because when they put the tubes in your neck, they inject you with Borg nanites. I'm
not disputing that. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I don't remember.
I think that's the case. Okay. So I she might have some technology inside of her in a microscopic level.
Oh, okay. I'll accept Borg nanites are in her body, and that's given her strength if they're activated. It's a bit of a reach. Though.
Why she's not Borgified? I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I'm sure the season will explain it.
I mean, because the final shot of the episode is Jeri walking into the city. Actually, the scene I did not like. I hated the song. The lights go out and she's causing a distraction by having like a song moment. I thought that was far too glamorous and perfect for the spontaneous moment it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it came off as cheesy to me.
I at first was like, oh, this is cringe, but God, she's got some pipes. Like, that was a good it was a good song. Like, the fact that like the spotlight comes on, I don't know if the Boar Queen was able to do that or if like there was just a panic moment of people were like, wait, did we book this entertainment? I don't know, just put the light on her.
I'm not critiquing the singing quality. She's perfectly good at it. But the scene itself played very cringy to me, and I know that good musicians can just kind of pick up a tune and play along. But,
exactly, yeah.
But all of that still felt a bit like, it's all a bit, it's meant to feel spontaneous, but it's perfect. It's like a scene in a musical, and I don't like that.
Well, I do like that Jeri, because she has this other thing inside of her tapping into what she is potentially capable of, kind of like what I was saying with the Matrix comparison, is that she was always capable of doing this, but because she has this confidence, which they've been talking about throughout the episode, people are looking at her differently and stuff. She's like, oh, it's the dress. And like, no, it's us. Like, it's because I'm here to bring out the best of you, because you have me now, because you have this companion, you can fully reach, your potential. So this has always been something that she could do. And because she has the confidence, she's able to just belt out a song and be like, I've always supposed to be here. That's how the best, heist plans work, is that you just pretend like you were supposed to be there.
Yeah, I'm not disputing any of that. I'm disputing how it's presented in the episode, and that's why it's cringe to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I guess I can see why it would bother yourself.
It felt like it was out of a different show and it didn't belong, I guess, is what I'm really saying.
I just really like what they're doing with Jeri's character. I know it's not too dissimilar from like the first season, like where an alien just corrupted her brain and became a bad guy for a while. Seems like they're doing the same thing, but like they set up that she's capable of doing that. Yeah, but
it came out of nowhere last season, whereas here at least it's kind of like building and given like a reason why she'll give into it, because she is lonely, and there is kind of something there to like, there's more to it this season. I don't necessarily like the scenes that do stuff with it this episode. I think fundamentally that's where it came down in this episode, is I don't dislike the fundamental direction of anything in particular, except maybe like what we've set with Picard for next episode, where we're doing this mind like exploration episode. But it's just that a lot of the execution in this episode doesn't work for me that well, and a lot of the specific scenes don't work for me that well. Obviously Picard himself, like going to talk to Renee Picard to sort of cheer her up and motivate her to stay in the mission. I don't think it's one of the better Picard speeches, but I will agree that it did feel more like him. It felt more like Picard and giving a speech to like inspire her. That was nice. I do think it's kind of interesting though that she still witnesses this old man get knocked down by a car at the end of the scene, and you would think that would shake her up a little bit going into this mission. She
does get a bit. I mean, the last shot before it cuts to commercial break is her like leaning over and seeing him and then like freaking out and backing away. So maybe they will go into that. You would think she would be like, oh no, I just made friends with this old man and now he might die. Well, he also saved her life,
That's true. Yeah.
Potentially.
So there's a lot going on there.
So this old man who's way too old to be a security guard, which I'm glad she said something about it. Like, aren't you ancient? Shouldn't you be retired like 30 years ago?
He carries it well enough. It's. I think the talking about fear and talking about how like don't read like fear's not complicated. Fear is just fear. Don't read into it as it's something you have to deal with. It's something you have to learn to work around. But it's not something you should let control you. And there was a lot more to it than that. But it's a pretty decent speech. But not like a great all timer though. But it does feel like Picard. So points for that.
Sure. I mean, she's not on trial to like justify if she's a human being or not. He's just.
Not all of Picard's good speeches have come from a trial.
Oh, come on.
He's made
Measure of a Man and The Drumhead are the best speeches.
The two of the best speeches, but he's made some other great speeches that were not trials. So that's not. I'm not saying they have to be a trial for them to work or to be great. There's many great ones without those. So yeah, I think, you know, and I like that Doctor Lady is kind of like, okay, so like something weird with Picard's body. Like, who are you? And Rios tries to kind of like, you know, joke about it and blame the kid jokingly.
Same with she asked if he had any like transplants or something, and isn't Raffi's just like, yeah, everything technically.
Well, I think the first thing she says is a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot. Everything. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
So she's going to be pulled into, you know,
at least one person in the past has to like find out that they're from the future and know it, and it makes sense that it's her, because I think Renee Picard finding out's a bit too like messing with the timeline, so it makes more sense for it to be her. But do they pull a voyage home though and actually bring her back to the future? That's the real question. Yeah,
that would be interesting. And I think it's interesting that they're giving Rios a love interest when he and Jeri have this history, which, you know, she does kiss him in this episode, but it's not really under her control. It's the Borg Queen doing her thing.
Yeah, it's also quite notable that happens, because the last time we saw him before that scene is the scene where he talks about Dr. Lady to Raffi. So the show has just pointed out to us that he's thinking about her, that he has feelings for her, and he sticks up for her. He's like, oh, she's given these people in her community a place to go, some hope, and he's really, you know, complimentary. And then he has this scene where he's showing concern for her because she's acting out of character, because he does care about her, but then she tries to play it in a romance way, and we feel awkward because we know he's not thinking of her that way. We know who he's currently thinking about. So
and I don't think Jeri even thinks about him like that anymore. Like, he's just, you know, a fling that, you know, she cares about him too, but I think they've moved past the romantic thing. Although if they wanted to play the angle of like he's moved on to somebody that he really likes and they really have like chemistry together, then, you know, the Borg Queen can play off of that even more. But like, look, like even this guy who likes you is going off with someone else. Yeah,
because even in season 1, their thing was never felt like, oh, two soulmates have found each other and they're destined to stay together. It felt
like a fling.
Yeah. It felt like, oh, we're stuck in this ship together.
We're bored. We're adults. We're gonna kill some time.
Do you fancy a bit of slap and tickle, or just because, you know, nothing else to do?
Yeah, being grown up is awesome.
That's your response to what I just said, alright. It
felt like the right thing to say.
Yeah, so it's an interesting little beat, because it does kind of feel like we're in something as the audience because we just saw what he was. So there, you know, the episode's not completely devoid of some smart writing necessarily, but there's a lot of like plot directions and things that it sets up that feel unsatisfying, because in the case of like the Sung stuff, it just kind of feels like a mix of like why and also contrived. But then the stuff with setting up Picard for next episode, it's like, this is just out of nowhere. Like, I'm sure what we explore in his mind is going to be some good, interesting stuff that is important to the themes of the season. But this just feels like a really all of a sudden way of getting there, as opposed to, you know, because I mean the car hit in and of itself is, because even though we know Sung's going to try and stop him from intervening, and he wants to stop Renee from going on the mission, him just coming around the corner in the car is out of nowhere. It's like, oh, that's how he's doing this? That's his plan?
Yeah. I'm just going to run over a 96-year-old man.
So, yeah, there's just some elements that feel a little wonky in this one, which is a shame, because I actually really like the setup of last episode, like the idea they're all going to be at this party undercover. But once they're actually undercover at the party, there's not a whole lot to do other than just, let's just watch Renee and make sure she's not too miserable.
It is interesting that with Rios' character, who I also really like in this season, like he's kind of going through a 7 of 9 thing also, where he's just like, yeah, I know I went through some shit, but like this is a pretty cool century to be in. Everything's so intense. He's
always been kind of a chaotic character. I do wonder if he actually likes it better here and wants to stay behind, and partly obviously because he's maybe fallen in love with someone that he wants to stay with.
Maybe it is safer for him to stay there than it is for her to go back to the future.
Probably is, yeah.
Especially since they don't know how this world works. You know, everything's all jumbled up because of Q.
Well, yeah, but in
Who
theory,
knows?
if they to stop whatever was going to change from changing, it's the future's still going to be their future again.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it could be either future, I guess, is what I'm saying. It's up in the air.
Yeah, it's safer just to stay in the 2024 for him. He doesn't have to deal with the possible failing of their mission.
Yeah. What's funny actually is that since last episode, I have watched a couple more episodes of Next Gen, which, funnily enough, are relevant to this season of Picard. It just was just so weird that where I hit on Next Gen was right around this season of Picard.
It would have been a little bit better if you watched them slightly before.
Yeah,
we started Picard.
I will say the scenes where Picard talks to Guinan in 2024 in this season all of a sudden are completely nonsensical to me, having now watched a couple of key episodes of Next Generation.
Yeah, so I saw that, I don't know if it was a showrunner or writer or something, was saying that because the Federation never happened and it's just the Confederation is what we see, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this reality, that future Picard never goes back in Time Zero. Those events never happen. So because of that, Guinan has never met Picard. But when he says his name and stuff and she throws up, there is still something in her future with Picard. We don't know what it is, but something's messed up and it makes her time sick.
It's a bit tricky because it's a bit tricky. Right? It's because we're dealing with time travel. It's all a bit on the tricky side. Obviously, the fact that it was still Whoopi Goldberg in the end of the 19th century and the Next Generation it does make the fact that it's a different actress in the 2024 part really weird. Because you can't blame that on the timeline changing, but
right.
I can understand that to an extent. I can understand that explanation to an extent.
Me too, but I also automatically thought of okay, but what about the punk on the bus who remembers getting strangled?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a reference to the Voyage Home. Yeah.
Now it could be that V'ger did come back and they had to come back, and it was just a very different movie from the Voyage Home.
Maybe that's why he looks so scared, is because the version of Spock in that were there were much more. They were this militant version.
Almost
from this,
killed him instead.
Yeah, they probably beat the piss out of him. They probably bodied his hands on his face.
Yeah.
So the version of Kirk and Spock that he's remembering are they're basically mirror universe Kirk and Spock that beat the shit out of him.
But they did have to go back and get a whale.
Okay.
But, who knows what happened to them after.
And I'm sure this came up. I'm sure when they were writing these scenes, they thought about this, and this is a nice, convenient way to just sort of do what they want without her having to recognize him. But part of me thinks wouldn't the scenes have been more interesting though if she did recognize him from Time's Arrow and just it played out wait, I know you. I've seen you before, about 100 or so years ago.
You were slightly younger.
I think that might have been more interesting as a scene. I actually think that'd have been more fascinating to watch than the version that just didn't recognize him.
Right. I mean, I had to think about it, and not just me, a lot of other fans did too, and that's why he came out with that tweet or whatever about it, because they're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And he's like, well, actually, if Picard never goes to the past in this version, then why would he know who she is? Why would they know each other?
I can understand the logic of that explanation, and I'll accept it to a point, but fundamentally I'll still say it's the wrong choice, because I think it's the less interesting choice. I think the version of episode 1 or 2, whatever one it was he spoke to her in 2012, I think it was episode 2, or maybe even episode 3 actually by the time they go back, but whenever he spoke to her, I think the more interesting version of those sequences is the one where she recognises Picard, but this time it's an even older Picard who knows even more about the future than the one that she met previously. This is a Picard who's went back to the present, the future, and spoke to Guinan, who remembered meeting them. And obviously there's the can of worms there. Well, that means that in Next Generation, when they do Time's Arrow when he comes back, she knows that she's going to see him again later when he's really old.
Yeah.
Because of the 2024 stuff. So it does get quite murky. It gets quite messy. There's maybe no perfect solution, but I think fundamentally, as a fan of the characters, I would have enjoyed her recognizing them more than I did what they actually did in the episode. But
well, she's quite hostile to him.
Yeah.
I mean, she pulls a shotgun out on him even. So
it's basically so we could have several scenes of them.
Different. Yeah, it would have been a different interaction if she actually recognized him.
Yeah, it's basically,
you're my friend and you're from the future.
It's an excuse for them to write it a certain way. It means they can have several scenes of her not trusting him and him trying to convince her. But
yeah,
I say to that, well, yeah, but that's less interesting. Like, why not? No, present us with the characters we expect, and then actually do something with them reconnecting again. So it's not a huge deal, but it's the sort of thing where I'm like, why did they make that choice? That one choice is just really stupid to me.
I mean, I think it makes sense the way that he explained it, and I'll go along with it for the show. Well, we'll see. We may not be done with Guinan.
Oh no, we may not be, and like that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's. I'm saying it's the least interesting choice, so I think it's the wrong choice from a writing creativity perspective. Like, I do think the explanation he's given does make some sense, and I can see, but it feels more like that's justifying because they wanted to do it this way for some reason. So I'm saying from a creative standpoint, why did they want to do it this way?
Yeah.
Because right now I don't understand that.
I was just thinking, it's not exactly off topic, but the announcement of season 3 of Picard is going to have basically the Next Generation reunion.
Yeah. It's going to have all the main cast members.
It's going to be season 8 of Next Generation, apparently. Oh. And I saw a headline today saying, like, Will Wheaton finally responds to not being part of the... like, oh my God, I forgot that Will Wheaton wasn't even invited.
No one cares. No one cares that Will's not invited. Which is so funny. Because now he's so old, relative to being in the show, that if they showed him captaining some ship and we could say, oh, Wesley Crusher is a captain now, like, it would work.
Right.
Because it's been 30 years.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there is something that happens to his character which makes sense why he would not be a part of it.
Okay.
But like at the same time, like he could be. So like, it seems like a clear omission, or it's going to be surprise Will Wheaton in the show. I think
Tara inadvertently just hinted that Wesley Crusher might meet his demise, and I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping for it. This is going to be great. I can't wait to watch more next gen.
It definitely goes in a direction that you don't expect.
Okay.
Or maybe you could. There is like.
Here's the real question though.
Hint,
so now we know that all the original cast are coming back, excluding Wesley and excluding Tasha Yar for obvious reasons.
Oh come on! They found so many ways to bring her back. They could do it again.
But so we're going to have Worf. We're going to have Geordi. We're going to have Troy, Beverly Crusher, obviously Riker, right? The whole gang.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the question. Brent Spiner's been here constantly as various other characters. Somehow, some way, do we get Data? Because they've got everyone together again. My answer to this is yes. Somehow, it might be an alternate timeline. It might be a different universe. Maybe there's some...
B4 is gone, because we established that in the first season of Picard.
Maybe it's some other thing.
Maybe it's lore. Maybe lore comes back.
No, not lore. I'm saying that some way, somehow... It might not be, maybe it's in his head or something, maybe they're in a virtual reality program, I don't care what it is, but somehow when they're all together, we're getting Data.
You don't think we're getting another soon?
We may get another soon as well, but I'm telling you, we are getting Data with that makeup on, being
with
Data.
Gold. We're getting soon with gold paint. Okay.
Somehow.
I thought that was hilarious because I totally forgot that that Will Wheaton was part of the original crew and was not invited back. By the way, I mean, since we're talking about it, I'm so excited to see Old Man Worf.
Oh sure.
I want to know what Worf is up to. I mean, if you can give anybody a spin-off.
Hey, the good news is the good news is by the time season 3 of this airs, I should be close or finished Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, in theory.
We're making good pacing right now. We're like 4 weeks ahead in recording right now. We're going great.
That's awesome.
We've already watched and recorded the first season 6 review, and the YouTube's not even at the top 5 of the season yet. So we're doing fine. It's great. But yes, that's Picard.
Deep Space Nine.
Episode 6. It was just okay. It was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag.
10 out of 10.
Not a 10. Picard, this show has never sniffed a 10. I'm just going to say that right now. It's never even sniffed a 10.
I like the title also, 2 of 1, because it's like, a Borg designation, like 7 of 9. Except 2 of 1 shouldn't make sense, except there are 2 bodies in 1 Borg. Very clever.
Or there's 2 Borg in 1 body. More
yes. You know what I mean. 2 entities in 1 body.
Yeah, 2 body in 1 Borg is the wrong way around.
Well, she's kind of a Borg. You know what I mean. For the Borg designation, 1 unit, but 2 entities in 1 unit.
Yes, there's 2 entities in 1 body, yes. But there's only 1 body. That's the important
part. I don't know
part.
why this is so complicated.
There's one, because you said 2 bodies, there's 1 body.
Okay. You know what I meant.
I did, but it's fun to rip it apart and make you explain it.
Anyway, good episode. Look forward to next week in the brain of Picard with Irish lady who is not very good at an American accent.
I forgot she was even trying to be.
It's pretty funny. If you listen for it, it's funny.
I mean, she can't be the ancestor of Romulan lady because, you know, she's human, but maybe we'll find out, like, she's somehow the ancestor of O'Brien.
She doesn't have enough curly hair.
Yeah, but maybe it's like one of the last husbands that were married, you know, along the way has the curly hair.
That's not how genes in Star Trek work.
Anyway, let us know what you thought of this week's Picard in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the content and everything, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can support us over there for as little as $1 per month. All of it does help, so thank you very much. And of course, check out the classic Star Trek reviews that I did with Connor. We're working through Next Gen. We're just hitting the end of season 5, and we'll be starting up Deep Space Nine once we get there. So go and have a look. We did the original series, so there's already like 9 full seasons of like reviews, Star Trek reviews to work through if you want to. So go and have a look. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?